All right, guys, 10 o'clock on the dot. Let's get the best speaking association on the interwebs rolling. I'm Sam Diamond. I'm going to be hosting today. I'm working close in hand with Brian Wagstaff, who is the owner of the Public Speakers Association. He's going to be speaking us today with us, as long as three other people. Pretty excited for the lineup we have, especially the first gentleman that's going to be speaking to us today. He's a longtime friend of mine, Michael Glassford. He lives in Utah. He has a farm that he's been working on. It's called the Starford Shire. He has a bunch of animals, animal enthusiast, loves fantasy, sci-fi. He's a writer. He's a lawyer. He's just a good person, and I'm glad that he's a part of my life and my friend. And I will pass it off to him to go ahead and speak to us today. There you go, Michael.
Thank you, Sam. Excited to be here today. Let's pull the room. Does the room have can the room chat? Put it in the chat box. I'm just interested in what everyone does so we can speak to your interest a little more as we talk about the exciting world of estate planning. I've got my small business owner behind me because I want to focus a little bit after we talk about nuts and bolts of estate planning on how you can use it in your small business. So just good to see who the audience is. All right, we've got a speaker and apparel and small business owner, corporate trainer. Okay, good. All right. Well, like Sam said, my name is Michael Glassford, and I want to give you a little bit of background into who I am and what I do and why I do it. And then we'll talk a little bit more about estate planning. I've practiced law. I'm coming up on my 17th year. And back when I was in law school, I had an opportunity to actually leave school and buy the house where I was going to work and commute back and forth, a 4-hour commute one way. And during that process, we bought a house in the country, and it took like an hour this is out in Missouri. You have to say it like that, Missouri. Took us an hour and a half to get anywhere, right? And so Home Depot was an hour away, and we were going to buy our first washer and dryer, and we were so excited. And our 9-month son was in the car with us, and we successfully navigated all the sales techniques and bought the cheaper one because the more expensive one was just right out of the budget for a law student. And we're driving home on I-70, clear blue sky, spring morning, and all of a sudden a huge torrential downpour. Those storms like in the cartoons when it's just raining on the cartoon, but if they put their hand out then it would be dry. It was kind of like that, just microburst Midwest storm. And we went from 100% visibility to nothing. And there were we're on a 2-lane highway, I-70, 2 semi trucks in front of us, one to my right and 2 behind us. So we're completely boxed in, and there's a huge greenway between us and oncoming traffic. And my last memory was, oh, blank. And I don't remember anything after that. But what I've been told is that we hydroplaned. We went across the grass median. We crashed directly into, head on a Chevy S10, which hit the front right passenger side. And we caused a 5-car accident and 1,000-car pileup, not pileup, but traffic jam because they couldn't get past it. The jaws of life had to be called out, and they sawed us out of our little Pontiac Grand Prix. I love that car. Too bad. They pulled us out. They put us in ambulances, and my very next memory was only audio, no visual. It was just the EMTs chatting back and forth to one another. And I hear my almost disembodied voice, asking, is my wife okay? Is my son okay? And I just remember the fear that sat on my chest because I didn't know the answer to this question. You know, did they die in this accident? What's going on? And the EMTs couldn't tell me because I was in a separate ambulance. So they didn't know what the status was of my wife or my son. And again, just to this day, that palpable fear of not knowing and not being ready. And it was very foundational for me in my law practice. Obviously, I'm here and I survived. In fact, it was quite a miracle all around. My wife had a few bumps and bruises, but because my son had been a little bit fussy leaving Home Depot, she just had chosen to sit in the back of the car, which saved her life because the front right passenger seat took all the impact. I had some subdural hematomas in my hips from the seat crushing me, and a huge gouge on my head, and I was the worst for wear. And then my son just had a few skull fractures, but he was 9 months old and his head was still developing, and they said that wasn't going to be a big deal. So lots of more miracles. You can ask me another time about that story, but the reason that I share it, especially when we talk about estate planning, is because you never know what today, let alone tomorrow, is going to bring. And so it's a really good idea to have something in place, because I didn't. If I had passed away, if my wife had passed away, there could have been a child custody battle between my parents and her parents over my son. There could have been some estate issues. You know, law school would have gone after somebody for the debt. You know, lots of problems would have happened because I just wasn't ready. And so when we talk about estate planning, a lot of us aren't ready. The statistics show that about 60% of Americans don't have any kind of estate planning in place. And so you don't have to feel alone in that. You can feel inclusive that you probably don't have anything with the rest of us. But that means that there's a great chance to educate and to learn what is out there, and to really tap into that. And we'll talk about estate planning for small business owners in a second as well, but let's just cover some bases. What is estate planning? When we hear that, you know, we think, you know, old people, or I'll do that later, I don't have enough stuff. And we'll talk about some of the limiting beliefs that are associated with this. But let's talk about what a will is, what a trust is, what a living will is. A lot of this stuff can be very confusing. You know, we're told all of the time that we need a will, get a will, do this, you have to have that. And you got to stop and ask. You know, before we started the meeting this morning, we were talking about pop culture and movies, and a lot of us only know about wills because of movies, TV shows, books. And you know, we've seen Knives Out, we've seen, you know, Brewster's Millions, and we know that we're supposed to have a will. That's just been ingrained into us. But if you stop and ask the next question, why are wills so prominently featured in movies? And what makes a good movie? Well, a good story has drama. And so if a will is often featured in a movie, it's because it's creating the drama. It's the catalyst for the problem that the characters are going to face and overcome. But the will was the problem, not the solution. So we're taught, get a will, but what we're really doing is just buying into some drama for our family in the future. Because when we break it down, and we'll talk about what probate is, a will really is just a direct, you know, go to jail on the monopoly board. A will is go to court. So it tells the judge what we want. It's a roadmap for the judge. But the problem with that sentence is that there's a judge involved, and we may not necessarily want that. So the next phase of estate planning talks about trusts. And a trust is a contract that we can create. The government allows us to create a contract that will essentially own property in its name until we don't own it anymore. And we'll dive a little bit further into that, but that's just kind of the basis of the trust. We don't own it. We are the grantor, the trustee, or the trustor, giving it to the trust. Then we get to play the role of trustee, different hat, and that's more like a property manager. And then we get to play the role of the beneficiary, who gets to use and enjoy the property until we pass it on to someone else. So we've got these concepts of wills and trust. And the next one that's really confusing to a lot of people is living will. We hear that a lot. You get a living will, get a living trust. And really all that is, there's some components that make it a living will. A will's a will, a trust is a trust. But the living component means that we have a power of attorney, a healthcare directive, and some kind of a HIPAA waiver in place so that someone can make financial legal decisions on our behalf when we can't for the power of attorney. Someone can make bodily decisions that we've already decided they're just executing with the healthcare directive. And then they can actually have an intelligible conversation with the doctor when things go wrong, because the doctor can share information and not violate HIPAA because of that HIPAA waiver. So that's what makes up a living will. And that is a component that comes with whether you prepare a will or a trust. The attorney is going to also prepare those documents too. So those kind of are the three big things that make up an estate plan. There's some other things we can do with child protection planning that make sure that the kids are taken care of, that they're never going to be in the hands of the wrong guardian or in the hands of the state. There's a whole movie about child protection planning. It's called Harry Potter. And they did it wrong for a lot of the movie because they put him with the wrong guardians. And we saw the result of that. The right guardian would have been Sirius Black for all you Harry Potter fans out there. But on paper, if a judge is looking at Sirius and a judge is looking at the Dursleys, who's the judge going to pick? Is he going to pick a family that's married, that has a house and a job and a child and some income and all of that? Or is he going to pick a scofflaw with the motorcycle that's been in and out of jail and is a single fella with a bad history on his family? So on paper, the judge is going to pick the wrong guardian because he doesn't have that additional information of how, what the relationship is going to be like, how they're going to take care of him. So that's kind of like the fourth element of estate planning. But let's jump into now what the difference is between a will and a trust. I asked this on Facebook the other day because, I was stimulating conversation, right? What's the difference between a will and a trust? And one of my clients jumped on and thought they were really smart and said, well, if you don't know, maybe I hired the wrong attorney. Yeah, epic fail, that's okay. But the post got a lot of traction, so it worked out. We achieved what we wanted, because I always follow up those questions the next day with a video on the Lawyer Minute. You can check those out on Facebook. But the big difference between a will and a trust is how they're executed. Like I said, a will has to go to court. It's going to be probated. And what is probate? It's just the process of transferring stuff from your name to someone else's, and you're no longer here, so you can't sign on the line for it. We have to have a judge do that. But we're going to give an opportunity to third-party creditors to come in and make their claim. We're going to give other people the chance to say, hey, you know what? He owed me some money, so I'm going to take that before his family does. In probate, we get to pay the attorney. We get that's usually $2,500, $3,500 deposit, and they're going to bill at whatever they bill an hour. We get to pay in Utah, especially a filing fee. That's $375 right now. In other states, it could be a percentage of the estate. Here, we're a little bit luckier that way. But we've got publication fees that we have to let these third parties know. Hey, it's your chance to come get some money. We've got to do appraisals on any kind of real estate. So the fees and the costs are adding up in this will scenario. And who pays for that? You're passed away. So most likely we're gonna either have to have family pay out of pocket, and hopefully they get reimbursed from the estate, or the estate's going to be reduced to pay for some of these bills. And that means the family's going to get less than what you wanted them to have, because it was reduced to pay all of the bills. This is the system of will. This is the system that we've taught our children. You should have a will. It's really, have you ever heard of dining and dashing? You go into a restaurant and you have a nice meal and you split. You would never do that, right? But somebody does it because there's a name for it. And the waiter is stuck with the bill. They have to pay it, take it out of their tips at the end of the night. And so that's essentially what we're doing with our families when we leave a will. We're like, hey, I had a really good life. I have a lot of stuff you can have, but you're going to have to pay for it. And so the answer to that will and to escaping the probate situation is trust. When we create a trust, we've created that third party entity that can own property in its own name, and we can transfer my house from Michael to the trust. So now Michael doesn't own the Shire, the trust does. I call my house the Shire. Yeah, I'm a big nerd. That's okay. And when we do that, we've transferred that ownership. And so when I pass away, the trust owned the Shire before I died. The trust owns it after. And there's no need for a judge. There's no need for that probate process. And the trust has its ducks in a row, where I'm the trustee first, and then my wife, and then when not us, then someone else, and then I'm the beneficiary first, and my wife, and if not us, then someone else. And so it just goes down the line of how we've planned it. And we're able to avoid that whole wills scene, as well as just get our property to the people that we wanted to be with most. So a lot of this estate planning, it can be dry, it can be a little boring, but really, and this will speak to a lot of the speakers and small business owners in the room. When you study purpose, and when you study how you can be better and motivate yourself and be better today than you were yesterday, really the purpose of estate planning is that same mantra. My mantra, it's your life, it's your story, make it a good one. You really are in the driver's seat. You really are the person that's able to change your stars and make your story the way that you want it to be made. And my analogy there, when we do estate planning and how that ties in, is if there's any Star Trek fans out there, I like to ask the question, who's your favorite character? And I often get Picard or Riker or Crusher. I'm choosing all from Next Gen. No one else really matters. But the character that I respond with is, I love the Shield. The Shield is my favorite character, because without the Shield, they don't go into space. They die. And they don't survive a Klingon attack. They get blown up. And really, estate planning is like that shield. We've put this shield around our ship so you can go out and explore your own space confidently. And what does confidence do when you're a small business owner, when you're a speaker? It expands your horizon. It allows you to grow and develop and really experience things that you wouldn't have but for the confidence that you're exuding, because you're able to go out and do more things, or willing to go out and do more things, because you feel safe, you feel more secure. And that estate planning helps you arrive there. And really, again, it's a mindset. I like to use a lot of analogies. If we have any Mr. Bean fans out there, this is for you, because Mr. Bean wins an all-inclusive trip to Vegas, including a car, and he's so excited. You can see him do the little dance, Mr. Bean dance, and he's so excited. We'll say he's in Utah, and he runs to Las Vegas because he's so excited. He gets to Vegas and he buys his car, and we're all thinking, well, that was funny, good job, Mr. Bean, but that was a little silly, because you could have bought your car in Utah and drove it to Vegas. And really, that's what we do with estate planning. We say, I'll get my estate plan in place when I arrive, when I'm rich enough, when I'm there, rather than buying the vehicle now and rolling there in style and growing your wealth and accumulating as you go along. And this isn't something isolated. I felt this way too for a long time. Even as the attorney that could write the will and write the trust, I always said, well, I don't have enough stuff to do that. I'll do that later. I'll take care of it when I'm rich. And the funny thing was, I never got rich. It never really changed. My situation never changed from day to day. And one day I decided, what, I'm just going to put my trust together and try it out. And this amazing, crazy, weird thing happened. Once I had the vessel to pour wealth into, I started collecting it. I started actually growing my assets and growing my wealth. And it wasn't just because I had a trust, but it was because I changed my mindset. I changed from scarcity to abundance. I changed from being, jumping from one thing to the next to actually having a plan in place. I grew up and I played football, and this is a sports analogy. So sorry for folks that don't like sports, but There's a difference between the kids on the playground that say, you go this way and go long, and we'll see what happens, versus, a high school or a professional or a college football team that has a playbook, and they say, this is the play, and they practice it and they execute it. And on the game day, they're able to do it. There's such a big difference between having a plan in place for your life and just kind of winging it. And we see that in sports, we see that in business, and we definitely see that in life. But then we don't take the next step and actually execute a plan. And so while estate planning does deal with the demise of someone, what happens when you die, when you pass away, really estate planning is more about living well, living better, changing your story, making the story that you want. And so we hear these reasons why I shouldn't do it. I don't have enough time. It's too expensive. It's about death. I just don't have enough stuff. Or it's too, it's just not something for me right now. And each one of those is really a limiting belief into what we can really do for ourselves. It stops us from growing wealth, from growing our family, from living in an abundance mind. You do make it. It's not to look around. I have way less expensive than any other attorney because I systemized it and I can pass the savings on to the clients. It isn't about death. Like we've said, life is a big deal in this, life planning. That's why I call it legal life planning. And it's not necessarily about what you have. I don't have enough stuff. It's more about what you want to have, what you want to create. And then again, that mindset is shifting. So for the last couple of minutes, let's just shift how we can use this in small business. If you are an LLC or a sole proprietor and you are a solo, you don't have any employees, you don't have anyone that's doing anything for you but yourself, you don't have that limited liability. Sorry, there's lots of other reasons for that LLC, but you don't have that one thing that it's named after. You don't have any limited liability, because if you're the tortfeasor, the one that created the liability, it's on you. They're going to sue you, they're going to sue Michael, and they're going to sue the business Michael represents. And so they're going to come after Michael's house and Michael's car. But if I've created a trust, guess what Michael doesn't have? I don't have a car. I don't have a house. Those are in the trust. So we can actually use estate planning as a caveat to our business planning to make sure that our assets, our personal assets, are protected, even though our name is on the line because we're a solo. We can use the power of attorney if something happens to us, so that our power of attorney can make legal decisions on our behalf. They can come in and help in situations where we can't do that anymore, and make sure our company keeps going, make sure paychecks are still going out, make sure things are happening. We can do other business succession planning too with estate planning, but that's just kind of one example. And then we can use trusts and LLCs and corporations in concert and work with a tax professional. I don't claim to be that, but I know enough to know that you can build these vehicles and have some tax strategies and some tax savings and really take advantage of owning nothing and controlling everything. And really, that's what it comes down to. There's this slogan out there that by some year and a few years, you'll own nothing and be happy about it. And that's like a political thing, whatever. I can help you do that tomorrow, and I guarantee you'll be happy about it, because the way we're doing it is we're protecting your private property from all intrusive possibilities. And nothing is bulletproof. Nothing is absolutely locked down, but it's more locked down than everybody else's. And they have to jump through more hoops to get it. And it is definitely insulated and protected from tragedy, from things that we just didn't see coming. And like that car crash in my early days as a law student, we just don't know what's coming. And so with that, I'm going to wrap it up. And I think we have about 5 minutes for questions, if there are any, or if Sam or Brian want to lead a little discussion.
Well, thank you, Michael. That was awesome. Yeah, if anybody has questions, go ahead and ask. I've got a question real quick. The Weird Al Yankovic song "White Nerdy," was that made about you?
Yeah, Al and I were really close, and so he's like, "You inspire me. I'm going to write this song about you." I think I might have been 4 when he wrote it, though.
Dude, you're not nerdy. I love that stuff. So, I have a question on estate. Like, is it more important? It's more important to have the trust than a will, right?
It's going to do more for you, yes. So
Okay.
I like we talked about in the presentation, that the trust is just a vehicle that will achieve things after you pass away, things while you're living, and protection on all of that. It's really just another component of LLC and incorporation of asset protection and creating cellularized islands of assets. And so if one goes down, the rest are still protected.
Gotcha. John Kovac has one. Go ahead, John.
Hey, great job, Michael. Quick question for you. I think a lot of people, one of the greatest, I don't know, things that hold people back from either, trust, wills, or estate planning or whatever is the complication. Obviously, we hire lawyers and we hire, people who are involved in the legal sense to do so because of its complication. But the way you speak about it, it makes it feel a lot more simpler than it appears. Is that true? Is that the process can be simplified if you just prioritize it, or is it one of those things where you really should consult the expertise of somebody like yourself so that we can understand all the angles and all the right things to write down and put down? I guess my question is it as simple as it is as telling people what they get when they die, or is it a little bit more complicated but can be simplified through the help of a professional?
I think what you're saying is accurate. The message is simple, but it's simple because I'm coming from 16 years of simplifying it for my client, and I'm interpreting a lot of legal mumbo jumbo behind me and giving you the information that you need to make the decision, and I'm still doing all the math and the garble back here. So I don't necessarily say go it alone, but I do say you can understand it, we can prioritize it, we can have a real conversation about it, and then let the professional do the gobbledygook.
Awesome. Any more questions out there? Okay, great. All right. Well, we appreciate that, Michael. That was great. I'll just do a quick promote for Michael. Let's hold on. Somebody real quick. Okay. I've had multiple people in the last year or so that have dealt with this. My stepdad passed away really quick, and he didn't have a trust in place, and he had quite a bit of assets. And so Michael helped my mother go through, helped her go through probate. My mother-in-law right now is going through probate because her brother passed away, and getting it done before is so much better than getting it done than having to go through probate. It is a nightmare. So if you have loved ones or you have one that you need to get done, just get it done now, because it makes it a lot easier for the people that you leave behind to deal with the stuff that they have to go through after you pass away. So anyway, that was a quick plug for him. I appreciate Michael and all he's done for my family, and he's a good guy, and reach out to him. He knows what he's doing. He's very knowledgeable. So our next speaker is Carrie Vanston, and let me pull up her bio real quick. Carrie helps professionals and entrepreneurs who are feeling stuck and stressed and are anxious to move forward in their business and life. With her proven mindset success system, she supports them in connecting to what they really want and increasing their mindset and leadership levels as they achieve their goals quicker and more joy, with more joy and fulfillment. Carrie's actually co-authored an award-winning book called My Mini Trends, and directs the popular leadership mindset success mastermind. She is a popular speaker on being a more energized visionary communicator and leader, and was honored to be noted for the Austin Business Journal's 2021 Profiles in Power. Carrie is certified and accredited leadership mindset coach and energy leadership index master practitioner, and a professional speaker with the National Speakers Association. We're grateful that Carrie could come on today. Go ahead, Carrie.
Could you let me share my screen?
Yes.
So I can use my slides?
You bet.
Okay, great.
You should be able to do it now.
Okay, great. Okay. Get settled here. Okay, move over here a little bit. Okay, let me make sure that it works. Yes, okay. So I'm Carrie Vanston. So happy to be here. Thank you, Sam, and thank you, Brian, for having me. And thank you, everyone, for coming. I have a big question for you. Did you know that if you change your mindset and your leadership mindset in particular, that you can change your life and open up all sorts of opportunities? Let me see what's going on. You are muted. Okay. I think I got muted. Did I get muted? Let me start again. So did you know that if you change your mindset and your leadership mindset from the core, that you can actually change your life and open up all sorts of opportunities and exciting new outcomes? Well, you can, and I'm going to give you some ideas on how to do that, but I'm going to start with backing up a little bit and giving you a little bit about my voyage to where I am today, my journey from where I am today. For a long time, I worked for a forecasting company, and we forecast the future. But we found that people didn't just want to forecast the future, they wanted to create the future. They wanted to use their creativity and their ideas. So we came up with a list of best practices to help them do that, to become more innovative. It was called Mini Trends. It won a couple of Best Book Awards. And it just really was a lot of fun. You know, we started doing conferences around it, consulting around it. But what I found over time was that innovative mindset just wasn't enough. It was like, I would talk to people and their companies and their leadership didn't really, they just wanted them to do what they were doing. And they didn't really have that more of a fixed mindset instead of that growth mindset of, let's open up to all the ideas that you have there. And so I got kind of frustrated with that and I wanted to help them. And so I got very involved with culture. So I started helping companies with culture. So now, that innovative mindset gave them that, but then also this positive cultural mindset. And it was really great. But what I found over time again, that it wasn't enough. It was, how many high fives can you get? It's not sustainable. There was something deeper that was missing there. It wasn't enough just to engage people. You had to have something stronger than that. And I started feeling really frustrated too, because I wasn't giving people sustainable change. And my own business wasn't moving in the direction that I really wanted to. And I knew there was something missing. So I went searching again for that innovative culture and mindset. And I discovered a 9-month leadership mindset coaching program that just completely changed my life. It really gave me the techniques and methodologies to help people really get that foundational leadership mindset. And we're all leaders in one way or the other, whether we're leading our companies, whether we're leading our departments, whether we're leading our places of worship. our families are just, dragging ourselves out of bed in the morning. So it's just really, really important to have this. So basically, this completely changed my life, and it allowed me to change other people's lives too, the techniques and methodologies that I learned and with my experience with the innovation. So I started the innovation culture and the leadership mindset really can change people's lives. And let me kind of show you what it looks like. Oh, these are the three things we're going to talk about. Oh, here it is. Basically, your fixed mindset is when you're struggling like crazy, you don't think you can do, then you're stuck. And then as you shift your core thought, communicate for true win-win, and inspire with your whys. These are the three things we're going to talk about today. You're shifting your energy up to that innovative, exciting opportunities and outcomes. So the three things we're going to talk about today are shifting your core thought to the positive, communicate for true win-win, and inspire others by clarifying your whys. And all of these are really going to be great for, changing that mindset to that more positive one there. And then at the end, if you want some more ideas, my gift is 12 quick and dirty leadership mindset resets. And my clients print this out and they tape it to their desk, and it's great. So if you hang out till the end, I'll give you the link to that. And what I want to start with is I want you to really think about a challenge that you're having right now. A challenge, and it could be anything. It could be your budget, you're having a budget problem, you might be having an employee problem, you might be having a family issue, COVID might be driving you crazy. But I want you to think of something, because as we go through, I want you to be thinking about how you might solve that problem. So I want to just take a moment, everybody kind of close their eyes and think about it for about 30 seconds. Let me give you just a moment. Think about something that's bothering you. Everyone's got something? Okay. So let's start with the first secret. The first secret of getting kind of out of the mindset pit, which I kind of like calling it the pit. I used to call it the alligator pit, but I think a mindset pit is just as good. The first thing is to shift your core thought to the positive. And basically what this looks like is we have a thought which leads to an action, which leads to an emotion, which leads to an action. So if your thought is, oh my God, COVID, what am I going to do? Then your emotion is going to be fear, and your action is going to be hide out in the house and not to talk to anybody. If you kind of change that thought to something more like, well, I can deal with this. I can carry on with my work. I can have the kids when they have to be home, they're home. Then your emotion is more matter of fact, and your action is you go out there and you do whatever you have to do to make it work, But if you can change that thought in an intentional way, say, hey, wait a minute, what are the opportunities here? What outcomes might I have in this situation? Then all of a sudden your emotion becomes excitement. Like, how can I take advantage of this? What can I do during this period where I'm stuck at home much of the time, or when I have to be really careful? How can I take this opportunity? How can I take this situation and make it something that really works for me? And then your action is to go out there and make the connections you can on Zoom, to connect in different ways, to find new avenues to really to get your goals achieved. So that's kind of a good way to think about it. It's a thought, emotion, action, and what we're doing is we're energizing that thought, emotion, action. A great example of this is Chris. Now, Chris is a client I had that she came to me because she had just gotten a promotion in her job, and it was a much more public-facing job. And she had to go out and meet people and go to events and socialize. And at first she thought, oh, this is going to be fun. I'll get to eat free food. I'll meet people. I'll have so much fun. But then she realized that it would usually be in the evening. She'd be by herself. And a lot of times she didn't know anyone. And all of a sudden it was like freeze time. Oh my gosh. And she would tell me that she would go to these events and she would just be holding her, white knuckled, holding her steering wheel on the way there, thinking, oh my God, did I leave the cat out? Did I leave the food on the table? Is there, any excuse to turn around and go back home? And if she finally did get there, she told me, and one time she told me that, when we first started working together, she said the night before she gotten there to an event, she'd opened the door, she saw the people, and all she wanted to do was like move over and just like kind of blend into the wallpaper. But, finally she said she finally saw somebody that she knew, and she globbed onto them. And then the moment she got a chance, she shot out the door. But what she didn't do is she didn't do her job, because she was stuck in a mindset pit. And so what we needed to do is we needed to get her out of that pit. So how do you do that? This is kind of, she felt salesy, she's miserable, and then she was hiding behind the potted plant. So what we want to do is we want to energize her thoughts. So how do we do that? Well, one way we did that was looking at past strengths. And as I go along, please think about your challenge. One way we did was we looked at her past strengths in similar situations. And, I asked her, well, when have you gone out and really had success with networking? And she said, well, about a year or so ago, I went to this really great St. Patrick's Day party. And there was this really funny centerpiece with these little guys jumping up and down, leprechauns jumping up and down. And I just made jokes about it all night long. And I had the whole table in stitches. And I made 2 really great contacts that night. And I said, well, what was your past strength in that situation? She said, what was it? Sense of humor. And how often do we completely forget about our sense of humor when we're under stress? And so we came up with kind of a little funny story for her to tell, so that when she walked up to somebody and connected with somebody, she would have, she would have something already intentional. And the word here is intentional to kind of prepare, to kind of break the ice and make her feel, and, use her humor and feel more comfortable. Another thing we did was we talked about her value in the situation. How is she valuable? And, she thought about it, and she said, well, I know so many people and resources in town. I know so many resources in town that, if somebody has a question about if they're struggling with something, I could probably connect them with the right person or connect them with the right resource. And I said, perfect. That is absolutely perfect. And so now she could, know that she could ask questions and give resources. And then if she didn't have the resource, they needed more resources, she could invite them into her office to become a client. And so she really felt much more confident because she was clear about what she had to offer. And then thirdly, we looked at her goals. And she made the goal every 2 weeks. Every time she went out to a meeting, she would make a goal to meet at least 2 people and approach them that she didn't know, and that she would also try to make 2 appointments before she left. So 2 people that she didn't know she'd approach, and 2 appointments at least before she left. And then each 2 weeks when we met, I would hold her accountable and say, well, what went on there? What went on there? And pretty soon she was telling me, wow, I'm going out, I'm having a good time, I'm making friends, I'm getting referrals, I'm getting clients, and it's just wonderful. So what she did was she changed her core thought to the positive by using these different methodologies, looking at her value, looking at her strengths, looking at her goals. And you can do that too. And what I want to do is I want to take a minute here, and I want you to think about that challenge that you just got up. And I want you to think about the past strengths you bring to it, the value you bring to it, and your goals. And here are some ideas for you to think about. And I'm going to give you about, 30 seconds to just kind of think about this. If you have a pencil, write it down. Okay, how did that go? You have some good ideas? Okay, great. Okay, so we've gotten out of the mindset pit by changing the core thought to the positive. Now we are going to move on to secret number 2, interact for true win-win. Now, so often we think that we're interacting so great, but we're actually interacting with compromise. We're actually taught that all through our lives, compromise, compromise. But really, compromise is giving something up. You know, one person or both people have to give something up. So the more you can think of in terms of win-win. And how do you do that? You find out what the other person's win is. You find out what the other person's win is by, and I'm going to give you some techniques to do that. And then you reframe your win around that win so you can create true win-win. And this is kind of how it looks. You've got the fixed mindset at the bottom, the fight and flight energy that protects you when the bear is chasing you, but it's not so good when you're trying to really move forward. And then you've got the compromise there. But as you go up energizing your mindset, you get into the win-win, which leads to the visionary. Because a win-win is 2 or more people getting together. And when 2 or more people get together, you connect to a higher energy and a higher intelligence. So that's what we're really looking for. So Jeff is a great example of this. Jeff has a small company, and it's growing. It was growing. This is when we first started working together, and he was really wanting to create that innovative culture where people felt, welcome, and that everybody felt like they were heard and all of that. But he didn't really know how to go about doing it, and he really wanted some help in creating a better organization as he grew, continuing to be a quality organization. So the first thing we did was I gave him a leadership mindset assessment that would show where his energy was under normal circumstances and where it was when he was stressed out. And then we kind of looked at that. And this is some of his results. And as you can see, he had a lot of visionary energy because, of course, he was leading this company and it was going well. But he had a lot of compromise too. And so what we wanted to do is we wanted to bring up that compromise to more win-win so that he would have more success and more joy and fulfillment in his business. So how do you do that? Well, the first thing we worked on was being curious. And this is, people want to be cared about. That is how we're wired. We're wired to want to be cared about. So I had him really go out to all of the people that he worked with and ask them, find out what makes them tick. What did you do this weekend? What do you love to do? Really start getting to know people and figuring out what their dreams were. So being really curious about the people that he was working with. Another thing that we did was I encouraged him to ask open-ended questions. If you ask somebody, well, do you like your job? Yes or no. It's a yes or no answer. But if you say, what do you love about your job? What turns you on about your job? If you ask open-ended questions, suddenly the person lights up and they start talking. So he started going out and asking open-ended questions. Well, what if you could do anything on this project, what would really turn you on? What would you like about this? What is your preference? Tell me what your thoughts are around this. These are the kind of things that really open up the conversation so you know what their win is, so you can again frame your win around theirs and create win-win. And listening intuitively. This was another thing we worked on. This was all about, there's 3 kinds of listening. There's objective listening, subjective listening, where you say, well, do you like this? What do you think? What do you think about this product? And they say, oh, yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure. Oh, well, let me tell you all the reasons why you really should love it. And then there's objective, and this is better. This is where, the person said, you say, what do you think about this product? Oh, I don't know. And you say, oh, well, tell me what tell me what you don't like about it, so I can tell you, why it really is wonderful. And that's better. But if you can intuitively listen and really listen to the body language, the facial expressions, all of the things about the person, and you can learn so much more about it. So instead, I don't know about I like that product. Well, I kind of sense that, there's something that's bothering you about this. Can you tell me more about it? And it's about opening up the conversation. The person feels heard and really starts sharing. And so it can just make so much difference. So, Jeff started applying these things, and he said it was just amazing, the difference that it made. One of his people came to him. He was having problems with one of his reps, because he was kind of doing something behind his back. And instead of calling him in and yelling at him, which he normally would have done, or really get into some kind of conflict, instead he came in and said, what's the problem here? What's the problem with the app? What's going on with the client? And really kind of opened up the conversation. And all of a sudden the guy felt heard and started, giving him all these actual ideas, because Jeff was now listening, because it was a conversation. And they were able to straighten it all out. And he kept the person who he needed as a rep, made the client happy, and took a lot of stress off himself. And he started really being able to connect with his people. So now I've got another exercise for us. Here I want you to think about that challenge and think about 3 questions you could ask the other person to encourage a win-win in your challenge. I'm going to give you just a minute to think about that. Okay. Did you guys come up with a couple of questions, maybe? Might work well. Okay, so we have secret number 1, to get out of that mindset pit, shift your core thought to the positive, and then the second one is communicate for 2 win-win. So we're going to go on to the next one. And that is to move on from that mindset pit, inspire others by clarifying your whys. Basically, when you're really clear about your whys, you really inspire people to want to know about your what. And you can split this into kind of thinking about, why are you unique? Why are you passionate about it? And why do you think you're going to make an impact? So these are some what's that really can change the way you interact with other people and inspire people as a leader. Dave is a great example of this. When I started working with Dave, he used to be a corporate person, and he was used to kind of bossing people around. The leadership model was, from the top down. And now he was starting a community center, and he really needed the support of other people, and he needed to change his leadership style. So he came to me to work on that. So the first thing we did was we looked at his passion. Why are you passionate about this? And he said, well, I'm passionate about it because I really want to help millennials have a place to land. A lot of them aren't really into formal religion, but they're feeling lost. They might be making money, they might seem happy, but they just need something more. And if I had a community center where I could welcome them and help them and help them really personal development and volunteer and all this kind of stuff, that's my calling. I said, great. And then I asked him, why are you unique? And he said, well, I want to have a social good element to it. So I want to have something that's actually in real time, so that, even a kiosk outside that has something that goes around that says, this is where people need partners right now to help with the homeless, or, whatever it is. And that's what I think is really unique about my vision. And then finally, what impact did he want to make? He wanted to make an impact on the community, to really bring it to the community together, and then share that model with other communities, so that there would be more closeness and caring within the communities, especially within the millennials. So he came up with the joy, personal good, and social good as his purpose statement for the company. And so now when he goes out and he says, someone asks, well, what does SOMAR stand for? He says, we promote joy, personal good, and personal growth and social good. And people are inspired and they want what they say, well, what's that all about? And he says, well, let me tell you more about it. Let me add you to my mailing list. Let me contact you. Let me see how you can help. So it's just made all the difference in the world for him to have that inspirational message that really deeply resonates with him. So the secret #3 is inspiring others by clarifying your why. Oh, that's not where I want to go. I've got a, let me see. Oh, here it is. I got out of order. Exercise 3, inspire others to clarify your whys. So I want to take about 30 seconds and I want you to think about why you're passionate about what you're doing, why it's unique, and why do you think it'll make an impact? Okay. So really work on that and really get it down so that you can be really clear about that. This is what mine is. My passion is to help people with their mindset. My uniqueness is my expertise and techniques, and my impact is success, joy, and abundance. And now when I'm clear about that, I can come across really strong, and I can inspire other people to really know, well, what do you do? I want to know more. So we've gone through 3 secrets. We've gone through shift your core thought to the positive, communicate for true win-win, and inspire others by clarifying your whys, which is great. I did want to offer you, let's see, where is my gift. Here's my gift for sticking through to the end. 12 ways to escape the pit. That's 12 quick and dirty leadership mindset resets. Again, you can print that out. You can paste it to your desk, and it will help you change your mindset. I also have a complimentary, if you'd like to have a complimentary leadership mindset reset discovery session, I'd love to do that with you. Just go to discoverwithcarrie.com and fill it out, and it will set you up for a half-hour free session. So we've been working from a fixed mindset to an energized mindset. And as I said at the beginning, if you can honestly, if you shift that core mindset in an intentional way by using these techniques, you can change your life, and you can increase your success, happiness, and be more abundant. Thank you.
Can I ask Carrie a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, awesome. Carrie, great job. That was amazing. A couple thoughts. Number one, you should teach us all how to do the slides the way you had them built into your Zoom background. That's amazing. That's a skill. That's something you could teach a lot of public speakers. Would love to learn that from you. But great job. I wanted to ask you a question just to provoke the thought on mindset, and that is the first step for taking that leap to exit the pit, right? If you're looking to get out of whatever negative or toxic mindset that you're currently in, what's your given first step strategy that you would advise people in taking that new direction? And obviously I'm going to download your awesome gift and everything else, but I would just love to know from you, like from the overall perspective, what's the strategy for any individual to change their mindset and take that first step?
Well, the first set is just realizing that you're in, that you're stuck, and then really saying, well, what is my ideal outcome here? And then think about that, about your goal, whether it's short term or long term, how you want to be feeling, and then feel that feeling. How I'm stuck here, I want to be here. How would that feel? And then once you start really feeling it and set that goal, then it's a lot easier for your mind to figure out how to get there, because your subconscious mind feels while your intellectual mind thinks. So the more that you can send feelings to that subconscious mind about how you want to feel in an intentional way, the more that it can pick up those thoughts. And another really important thing is when you do feeling, is looking at how you might use the past strengths that I was talking about. How did you solve this problem in a different time? How can you intentionally use those strengths that you use then and now? And what happens when you kind of think about the goals and how you feel and the strengths and these different things, it takes your mind out of that mindset, because you can only think of a certain amount of things at the same time. So when you're filling your mind with positive affirmations, when you're gratefuls, some of this stuff that, that I'll talk about in the 12 quick and dirty ways, but, you change that mindset by intentionally choosing to think about positive things that will move you forward out of that way of thinking. Does that help at all?
That was awesome. Thank you. You're awesome.
Thank you.
I also have a question for you, Carrie. So one thing that in my journey with this whole mind shift change is being organized and a routine. How important do you think a routine is to have that mental shift and keep it? That's the biggest thing, because there's a lot of times people get that mind shift and then their habits start to shift them back to where they were before. So what's the best solution for that?
The intentionality is really important, and that's part of the lists. And I always say, have affirmations. There's a app called Fink that you could put your app. You can do 4 free that you can put your affirmations. But it's the intentionality, the lists and the reminders and stuff like that, or just the intentionality of it, where you get a routine going. And it's easier, again, for your subconscious mind to pick things up, because you're feeding it what you want. You're feeding it. And one of the things about when you're talking about things that you have to do, they're really kind of goals. If you can kind of think of them as goals, and then again, feel how they'll feel when you get them finished, that helps too. So it's the intentionality of it that really helps. Because when you control those thoughts, it bleeds over into the emotions and the actions.
Awesome. Thank you. Great presentation. Appreciate your time and sharing with us today.
Just real quick, if you share your screen, when you share your screen, there says basic, advanced, and something else. If you click on advanced, on the left-hand side, there's a beta. If you click on that beta, it opens up and asks you where your document is. I chose my document, my PowerPoint document, and it opened up the PowerPoint document. And then I grew my head. That's how I did it.
Awesome. Thank you.
Reach out to me if anybody online wants to know more. Just reach out to me follow up with Carrie.com is a great way to just connect up with me for half an hour.
Awesome. Great. Thank you so much. That was awesome. And I mindset's huge in a lot of, especially being an entrepreneur and a lot of the stuff that we do. So I really appreciate that. So our next speaker today is going to be Paul Fink. Paul is the Maverick Millionaire. He's one of the foremost authors in business and personal development today. In his over 3 decades of sales, marketing, and entrepreneurial experience, Paul has moved over 20 million in real estate transactions, sold over 30 million in informational products, and ran over 250 live events. He worked with some of the best known speakers in the world to take their events to the next level and coach entrepreneurs and small business owners from around the world to build their business and create an abundant future for them and all. When you desire a real difference in your personal or financial world, crave a strategic game plan, looking to build a great team and maximize your income dramatically in the next 12 months, Paul Fink is the Maverick for you.
How are you, Sam?
Good, Paul. How are you?
I am doing awesome. And my view just went haywire. I'm going to zoom that in just a little to make it a little bit better. And I don't know why it just did that. How was that? So
looks good, brother.
Yeah, a little bit better. Yeah, it's amazing. Technology, as much as you know, there's always more that you don't know. And as long as I've been doing this, stuff like that happens. And great job, Carrie. I love that little head and screen as well. Good job. And I've been here the whole time. Carrie's amazing. Mindset, I could not agree with you more. Mindset is the key to success. You've got to have internal before you have external. So welcome. I am Paul Fink. I am the Maverick Millionaire, and I'm going to be talking about really how to create amazing monetization of what you're doing. I'm assuming that everyone here are speakers, one way or the other. Either you are an amazing speaker already utilize it as part of your matrix of your business, or you want to. Either way, monetizing what you do on a stage or as a speaker is key to your success. And I've been doing this for a while and learned through the test of time how to make that happen. And it started long before I was a speaker, because I've been in sales for 35 years. Started off right out of college in straight commission sales, and then went and have had a full career as an entrepreneur, earning my keep every step of the way. And so when I became a speaker, that was the natural progression into making my own way in here. I'm going to start off, not everybody knows me and not everyone knows what I've done. So I'm going to share my screen and go right to a video, and we'll do that now. Let's make sure I've got the right one and going in here to get us started. I am going to be talking about how I sold $2.2 million in one weekend. And yes, it can be done. And no, there wasn't thousands of people in the room, and it was in a live event. And so I'll tell you how that gets done in just a moment. And in the meantime, take a look at this. The Maverick universe is about hope. The Maverick universe is about change. It's about understanding that you have the power within you to create anything that you want, to manifest anything that you want. You want to talk about how to juggle, how to balance, how to create it all. That's what I've done, and done it with a gusto, done it with a passion, and done it with a thrill that most people look at it and go, how? How did you make all this happen? You want to come with excuses? You want to say that you can't for one reason or another? I challenge you to have more excuses why you can't than I do.
Paul Fink, also known as the Maverick Millionaire, discovered his passion 30 years ago when he entered the world of entrepreneurship. He's a renowned life coach and speaker who uses his own life experience to help his clients reach their full potential.
I want and desire and work every single day to be the greatest husband I can be, the greatest father I can be, and the greatest business person I can be. And I work every day to make that my life. All my approaches are counterintuitive, are different, to create a different result, to create a magnitude of power within you that manifests into a power in your external world where you can change the universe. My mission in life is to get this message out to millions and millions of people around the world, that for you to be the leader in your community, for you to be the one to deliver this message in your community, in your societies. In that way, we're going to change the world. In that way, we're going to have a movement of people that are real powerhouse, that are real leaders, that can really guide the way for everyone to reach their fullest potential. The mission of the Maverick universe, the Maverick community, is to inspire people to be their fullest potential. To understand that we all have the possibility inside of us. And yet most people walk around with blinders on. Most people have no clue what their possibilities are. They have no clue what they could do. You see, here's the great news. Once you understand that it's in your power to move, it's in your power to create something different. It's in your power to control your destiny. You can make anything happen. You can create the abundance in your life like that.
The journey to Paul's success was filled with dizzying heights and staggering lows. But he managed to utilize his situation and take charge of his life, making the Maverick universe the life-changing powerhouse it is today.
There's never a time to sit back on your laurels, to kind of just glide. There's too much to do. Come join me, come hang out, spend time in the Maverick community with me, and I'll show you a life that you could only imagine, because it's a life that I've been able to create. We are here to talk about speaking, with all of you being speakers. That was a sizzle reel, and I would highly recommend creating one to set the stage, to let people know who you are, and to create some excitement about what you do. And you can utilize that in multiple different areas. I'm not here to teach about sizzle reels, however. Absolutely imperative for all of you to look to create one. It'll really set you up to be perceived in a different way as you go in and promote yourself around the world. So let me tell you a story about how you can be doing things different to create 5, 6, and yes, 7-figure sales numbers in your events. I became a speaker in 2007, and it seems like just yesterday. However, when I began, I knew nothing of this industry, had never sold anything from stage in my life, although I had been in sales for a couple decades at that point, and was scared to death of speaking. Yes, I couldn't raise my hand in a room full of people, let alone get up on stage and speak. In 2007, I was scared to death. And one of my first times on stage, I couldn't speak. I was shaking so much. And fortunately, the person who put me there knew that and didn't give me a microphone. So that was good. You can create a career over this, no matter what your fear is, anxieties, blocks. You can overcome all that. I am proof. 15 years later, I've been able to sell over $30 million, run over 250 boot camps, and consistently produce high-end results, and sold a ton of high-end programs. What are high-end programs? And some people get confused with what those numbers are. Most people, when they do a presentation, a front-end 90-minute, 1 hour, even half-hour presentation, your price tag will be somewhere around $1,000 is fairly normal, sometimes lower, sometimes a little bit higher. When you get into high-end, we're talking about $5,000, $10,000, $20,000. I've sold up to $100,000 programs all around the world. So high end, that's what we're looking for. And when you get into those high end programs, running your events can be extremely lucrative when you know what you're doing. With over 250 boot camps, I have never, ever, ever had a losing boot camp. Even my very first one, I made money, although it was a fractional amount. Every single one I've created profit. I've spoken in some of the largest stages all around the world. This is Wealth Expo, probably the largest wealth expo, or definitely the largest wealth expo in the world that I spoke on. One of my expertise is in real estate, so I do speak on that. I also speak on mindset, on speaking, on coaching, on really how to get out of your own way and create a magnitude of results. I also got to speak on psychology with the new Psychology of Winning with Dennis Waitley, who was one of the greats and is one of the greats of the greats in mindset. And I had his books and tapes from when I got started, and then just recently got to share the stage with him and actually got to communicate with him privately or publicly, but just the two of us on stage, which was kind of cool. I've also created a publishing house and developed books and been published in over 15 books that we've brought to bestseller over the last 10 years. Highly successful, and something that any of you might be interested in, come and join the Maverick universe. I'll let you know how to get that done. But let's get into the real key of it. I got educated first and foremost, and then I started realizing what the people on stage were actually doing was being information marketers, and I got interested in what they were doing and found a way to stick around. Many of these people that I saw on stage then became my clients, because for about 10 years, I not only shared the stage with them, I also created a speaker support business and ran the rooms of some of the top level speakers in the country for about 10 years. I was doing that while I was building up my coaching business. And so simultaneously building up both businesses, and one fed into the other and created. I finally decided that the speaker support wasn't where I wanted to spend all my time, and closed it down, at least the division that was the done for you division. Now I teach people how to do all that I did for all these speakers. And here's some of the proof of the pudding is the pictures and the excitement of this industry and what it can mean for you in hanging out with some amazing, amazing people. Well, let's get into it. This was only the beginning. It went on from there. And over the last now 15 years, I've created that abundance, and the abundance in my life and yours. And when I say yours, I mean our communities. Just sharing what we do every day creates abundance in our society. And that's really exciting and something that you should all be proud of. What I learned, and to produce 2.2 million in one weekend, helped several of my clients. Here's one, Jen, created $70,000 additional coaching income in 4 months working with me. And we really got clear with some of the steps I'm going to share with you right now. We do only have a short period of time, so I'm going to roll right into it. Oh, one last thing. I want you to realize this is a short period of time for us to talk. So I wanted to give you an opportunity to come and hang out. MaverickSuccessLive.com. Go there, go check us out. We have events on a regular basis. The next one's coming up in February. Step number 1. You want to get real with creating abundance, creating that monetization in your world. You've got to get clear with what you want. I phrase it as this: begin with the end in mind. As I was doing speaker support, I would have an intro interview with the speaker that wanted to bring us on to support. And in support, I would handle their programs and repackaging and rewriting their particular offers, if you will. I then would also redo their agenda. I then would bring in the sales team and run the whole event for them. And so in the interview, it was really important that we got clear with what was the objective of the event. And I'd ask them what it was that they wanted. What was the goal of the training? The answers that they gave me were usually one of these four. I was told I should. I got into the industry. They said, oh, I should have an event. So here we are. Number two is I want to share my message and knowledge. Number three is it is a fulfillment content, which means they sold a package prior or something prior, and now they've got to have the event because they told everyone this is what they get for the price that they paid. And number four is to create profit somehow. And that's really almost the agenda step by step from top to bottom. So the challenge was that creating profits was the lowest tier answer or never answered at all. And yet at the end of the day, what did they scratch their head about and complain about is they didn't make any money. So what I want you to know is that out of all of these, the number one thing you've got to focus in on, it's not, we're still there servicing our clients. We're still there to take care of them. We have to have a high level of exchange of value. However, you've got to be there to create profits. That otherwise you won't be able to create events year after year, time after time. This year alone, I'm doing 5 boot camps, and that's pretty normal for the last several years. We were up to about 8 boot camps, and then COVID hit and slowed us down a little bit. Only 5 boot camps for the year, and that's just us that we sponsor, that we host. That's me on stage for the whole time. The only way I can do that is because every single time we create profits in running the events. Number 2, once you decide what it is that you want to be there for, you've got to make sure your whole team agrees with you and is on the same page. I cannot believe the speaker will be like, yeah, we're here to make profits. And, he'll talk to his sales team, or maybe he'll talk to the person that's in his office, or maybe a consultant. But then when you have the team that's actually there live at the event, their objective seems to be different. They seem to think that they're there to do other things, and whatever that may be. If you don't have a singularity of focus, if everybody on the team is driving in a different direction, the chance of reaching your goal is less. It's that simple. So you've got to make sure that everybody on the team has the same objective, that is really focused in on all their activity is moving towards the same result. On purpose with intent is how I do everything. Focused intentionality. I think we were just talking about that kind of attitude a moment ago. This strategic design of life, having that during your events is primary to your optimization and maximization of monetizing it. The whole team, the whole support team, everyone in the room, including your volunteers, need to be in that frame. Number 3, you gotta learn the business. You gotta know what it is that you're teaching, and you've got to know what it is that happens within a boot camp, within speaking, the rules, kind of the etiquette. You've got to know. What you don't know will cost you millions. The amount of people that stumble over themselves in speaking events and then scratch their head wondering what happened. Learn the business and get with people that really know what's going on within that particular segment of the business. It'll really serve you. So when you begin with the end in mind, when you create singularity of focus, when you learn the business, you can create the magnitude of results. You are destined for success. And remember, this is only the beginning. I'm talking about some real broad scopes, and I'll give a little time for some 1 or 2 questions at the end. Understanding. This is Demi. Demi got started with us about 2.5, almost 3 years ago now. She had no coaching business. She had no speaking experience whatsoever. We helped build her coaching program from scratch. And she created, first it was a $5,000 program, which scared her to death. Pricing is really key. People ask me, what's the best price for your coaching program or the programs and packages that you present on stage? And the true answer is it depends. And it depends on multiple different factors. Only one of the major ones is what you're comfortable with. Demi wasn't comfortable with a 12,000, 15,000, 20, forget about 100,000. She wasn't comfortable with those kind of price tags. It wasn't who she valued herself as. And so when she was looking at starting a coaching program, $5,000 scared her to death. Perfect. That's the price that we'll go with. And that's about as high as she could imagine even specifying without just looking like a complete fraud in her mind. As we started, it was a short time after she started getting comfortable with 5 that we were able to increase it to 7. Then we were able to increase it to 9. Then we increased it to 12. And it was a progression over about a year of increasing the price. And it had nothing to do with the product. Matter of fact, from a $5,000 product to a $12,000 product, the amount she delivered actually went down. So she delivered less service and charged more because she began to understand the value that she was offering and how powerful it was. So when you go to understand pricing, it does start internal and then it goes external. And there are other factors involved as far as the presentation, where you're presenting, who you're presenting to, some of the industry standards. However, you got to get clear, so much of it has to do with whether you believe in yourself. So she started off with 5, it progressed to about 12, and guess what? In September of 21, which was about a 2-year process, maybe a year and a half process, Demi's prices for her coaching program went up to $17,500. As I worked with her, guess what? The latest update, which I just got, January 22, which means last week, she sold her first $19,995. And oh, by the way, these prices aren't just prices that she put out there. These are prices that she's collected and actually sold. And all this had to do with her speaking. And here's the greatest news is then she got on stage and did her first front end speaking gig just last month and sold 24 packages at $997. So both front end and back end, she was able to do. Mindset absolutely was key in all this. Understanding structure and systems and understanding the business, understanding what she could present, where, when, and how to do that process. Jen, we talked about Jen earlier, created $70,000. Here's the rest of the story. She created over $200,000 within 7 months of working with me. And I talk about these things because all these stories have to do with going from basically 0 to 60, going from just getting started and not knowing. When you get the real information about how to structure these things, it really makes a difference. So now it's your turn. And in a short period of time, I wanted to present the idea of what's possible. The 2.2 million I actually did in one of our supports events. There was a speaker on stage. We had 400 people in the room, and with 400 people created $2.2 million in sales. I had trained the sales team on how to have the sales process conversation, how to put together the program and package, and we designed it step by step so that it really created a magnitude of results for the student, the person buying the program, as well as for the speaker on stage. So here's the rest of the story. And one of the things that I'm clear on is, man, we're in a journey here. This is a process, not an event. And I want to get busy with your world and your life to help you out and to see how I can be a part of what you're doing, how I can assist you in your journey. There's no charging. Nothing I'm presenting here is a charge. This is completely for free. The maverickoffer.com. And one of the key components is you're going to spend time with me. We're going to spend whatever it takes, usually about 20 minutes, sometimes an hour, depending on what happens in our conversation. But at maverickoffer.com, you're going to be able to go and get a calendar appointment right away. And I also have a free gift for you. One of the key components I know in working with entrepreneurs, and I think Sam, you mentioned it, as far as how do we get busy with our day-to-day process? How do we get clear with what we do in our habits and our behaviors? Well, it all has to do with time. And time management is really key. So I created this course. This is completely free. You get to download all of this. It's a 5-day training course. You'll get videos, downloads, etc., on really how to get clear with your time value, your time process, and how to get control of it. All of that is a free download for you. Go to maverickoffer.com. It'll guide you through getting the appointment with me, as well as getting the Maverick Time training series. So you get all this, maverickoffer.com. This is part of the training of success, manufacturing minutes, 5 simple steps to time management, the tuning fork of time, if you will, really how to get focused and clear on it, and your relationship with time. It covers all those components all in the training. And let's talk. With the bottom line, maverickoffer.com, is that we've got to get into conversation. We've got to get busy in creating 2022 to be the best year ever, in creating your business from the ground up, or for all of you that are already in it. Like I said, I've been speaking now for 15 years. And I started off just like everybody else, scared to death, not knowing. I got together with some top level speakers and trainers in the world and learned the business from the ground up, and really spent the time and energy in understanding the process, and then built my own. You too can do this. Anything that you need and want, I'm here for you. Anything that I can do, just reach out. Maverickoffer.com. That's where we start. And I'll talk to you real soon.
Awesome. That was great. Really appreciate that, Paul.
You're very welcome.
I'm already in the process
right on
of
time too.
Yes, right on time. Already in the process of scheduling our call. So
beautiful.
You'll see it.
Be a delight. Thank you,
Awesome.
everyone. A pleasure.
Great job. All right. So our last speaker for the day is also my good friend, Brian Wagstaff. Brian is a father of 4. He's got 2 girls and 2 boys. He's got an amazing wife that I've been able to be around. She's awesome. Amazing singer. Brian, hold on one second. I lost the bio. Sorry, guys. Okay. Since leaving his job in the corporate world with Boeing Commercial Airplanes 17 years ago, Brian owned a number of businesses. He's been a real estate investor. He's been involved in 5 different network marketing companies. All of it really has helped him move towards coaches, and a lot of coaches have helped him in his journey. One of them convinced him that he should become a coach himself. That the idea scared him quite a bit, and he spent 2 years as a real estate agent to figure out that he hated being an agent, and that he was his calling was to help people. After becoming a coach, he set the goal of becoming a speaker, that he could help more people, and the opportunity to buy the Public Speakers Association was presented to him, and he jumped on it at the chance to develop his speaking ability and spread his message of hope. I know Brian personally. I've been around him quite a bit, and he really is a people person, and he loves to help any way that he can, and I'm super excited for you guys to hear from him today. Take it away, Brian.
All right, Sam. Thanks for that introduction. It's fun to hear an introduction about yourself. It makes me feel good. Yeah, I like that. So as Sam said, I have a pretty diverse background. I used to be an engineer. I've owned lots of different businesses, and I've been coaching, and I've done a little bit of speaking, but I haven't done any big time speaking or anything. But I did want to I got into the Public Speakers Association because it was a good opportunity for me to work on this this skill. And this is actually the first time that I'm going to be giving a full length talk to you guys. I've only just done little things here and there, but I figured it was time. And so what I wanted to talk about today is how I've overcome a lot of my speaking fear and where a lot of my speaking fear came from. So, I mean, over the years in the speaking that I have done, there's sometimes where I'll be really, really nervous and other times where I'm really, really comfortable. It just varies. It's kind of weird. It just depends on what I'm speaking about, who I'm speaking to, and how I feel about it. So anyway, today I'm actually excited, and I don't have a lot of the nerves that I've had in the past. So I'm getting better, and that's a good thing. So I want to talk about what I've learned from my coaches and through coaching, and where my speaking fear came from. So the first thing the first thing that I thought of when I really decided to dive into figuring this out was I remembered an experience that I had when I was 5 or 6 years old, and my mom asked me to call someone. It was for a church thing. I needed to call a lady that went to our church and talk to her about something. I don't even remember what it was. And I'm only 6 or 7. And my mom said, yes, you need to call her. This is your thing. I'm not going to do it for you. You need to make this call. And so, I didn't know what to say. I was all worried. I asked my mom, what do I do? And she said, oh, well, just ask to talk to this lady, and so I made the call, and the voice that answered was a deep voice, and I knew it wasn't her. So I said, is your mom there? And it was a deep voice, so I knew that it wasn't one of the kids. But I was so frazzled that I just said, hey, is your mom there? And he said, oh, well, I haven't lived with my mom for 15 years or 10 years or whatever. And then he kind of laughed, and I was just blown away. I was just mortified. I was so upset that he would laugh, and that I'd said something that he thought was funny. And so it really killed me. And after that, I didn't want to talk to anyone on the phone, and especially talk to someone that I didn't know. And so just the possibility of calling and then not knowing who's going to be on the other end just really, really scared me. So that was the first thing. So that gave me like call trepidation or call fear, and it's made it hard. Like cold calling, I still don't like to do that for anything. For any of the businesses that I've been in, I have not wanted to do cold calling. So then, like when I was 14, another experience happened. I was in a youth conference for church. So we had, like 500 kids that all got together, and we had some fun stuff going on. We had some classes and speakers that came to talk to us. And I had decided the second day that we were supposed to dress nice. I had decided that I was going to wear some white football shoes with my dress pants and white shirt and tie. And I don't know why I decided that. I thought, man, they were brand new shoes, and I thought, yeah, this will be a good thing. Which I know now. Well, actually, I knew very quickly that it was not a good look. Anyway, so white football shoes and blue pants, white shirt. And I was sitting on the aisle of this meeting, and there was, like 500 kids and I don't know how many adults, 150 to 100 adults probably. And the speaker was up in front of all these people, and he said, hey, I need a volunteer from the audience, and no one volunteered. And so he said, all right, you there with the white shoes, come on up. And I was not happy about that. I tried to just sink down to my seat and hope he was talking about someone else, but he wasn't. He was talking about me. So I get up there, and he had a blackboard, and he said, "Hey, I want you to write all of your best qualities up on this blackboard." And I was like, "What?" And he said, "Yeah, all the things that you're the best at, you're good at, or all of your best qualities, put them up on the board." And I was just like, "No way, I'm not doing that." And he said, "Well, why won't you do it?" And I said, "Well, I don't want anyone to think I'm conceited or anything like that." And I don't remember exactly how it ended, but I didn't end up writing anything on the board, and I went and sat back down. But after that, I was just so embarrassed, and I felt like all of my friends, or even people I didn't know, I thought they were all laughing this whole time, or they were all thinking about it. So it ruined my day. It ruined like the next week or so for me, because I was just constantly thinking about this horrible experience that I'd had and what everyone else must be thinking about me. Then there was another time when I was 14. I was in band, and we had a band concert, and I played the trombone, and the trombones had a part in their music where they could play the baritone part if there were no baritones. And our band director said, "Yeah, we have baritones, so trombones, you don't need to play this part." But it was a cool part, and so the night of the concert, all the rest of the trombones decided to play it, even though they weren't supposed to. And I was the only one sitting there not playing. And I felt like the entire audience was watching me, and they were saying, "Oh, hey, how come that guy isn't playing?" And everyone, all the rest of the trombones are. And I even had some friends in the audience, and afterward I went up and talked to them and said, "Oh, did you notice that?" And blah, blah, blah. And I don't remember what they said, but I was all concerned about it. So that was another instance where I was not wanted to be on stage. Then when I was a junior in high school, I remember there was a day in English class where we were assigned to read a short story. And then the next day the teacher would ask us about it or quiz us about it. I don't remember exactly what we were supposed to do other than read this short story. So I did it. And then the next day in class, the teacher asked me a question about the story, and I didn't understand her question because it was a tough story for me. I had a hard time understanding the story. It was difficult. And so the teacher asked me a question, and I said, "Sorry, I don't understand the question." And she said, "That's a cop-out. You understand the question. You're just saying that because you didn't read the story." And I didn't know what to do, because number one, I didn't know what a cop-out was. And I didn't even want to tell her that. I didn't want to tell her I didn't know what a cop-out was. And I didn't defend myself. I just said, "Okay, yeah, I didn't read it." So that's what I said, even though I had read it. I just didn't want to tell her that I read it and didn't understand it. And I didn't understand her question, and I didn't even understand what the word cop-out was. So I didn't ever like the teacher calling on me after that. I probably didn't like it too much before that. Anyway, so these are some of the things some of the stories that have come to my mind lately that let me know why I've had a hard time being having the spotlight on me, being on stage, talking to people that I don't know. And I bet you there are probably more things will come up. If I think about it, there are other things besides these, but these are 4 examples of how I began to fear being a speaker and speaking in front of people. So let's go back to that phone call. Let's go back to let's talk about what should I do now about these things now that I understand them, And the first thing that I've learned to do is to look at what is the story that I told myself because of that event. So the story about the phone call, the phone call with the man saying, "Hey, my mother doesn't live here." What is the story that I told myself? The story I think I told myself was, I don't ever want to talk to someone on the phone because I don't know who they are, because they might make fun of me and they might think that I'm stupid. But when I was talking with my coach about this, he said, you know what? Actually, that man probably laughed because he thought it was really cute. He said he probably thought you were really cute. And I do that with I remember doing that with my kids all the time when they were little. I would laugh when they did something really cute, and they'd say, "Why are you laughing? Why are you laughing at me?" And I'd have to explain to them, "I'm laughing because you're so darn cute." So it never occurred to me until my coach talked to me about this that, that man probably just thought I was really cute. So if I would have just had that story going through my head, it would have been much better. If I would have laughed with him, if I would have laughed and said, "Hey, yeah, I'm a pretty cute kid, and I made a mistake," then things would have been much better. So what about that youth conference, sitting there wearing white shoes and getting called up in front? So the story I should have told myself is, don't ever wear white shoes with dress pants. That was a mistake. So now I definitely don't do that kind of thing. I always make sure that I don't draw attention to myself with my clothes. But anyway, I could have handled that much differently. I could have embraced what the teacher was wanting me to do. I could have said, "Oh yeah, these are my strengths." I could have even embellished my strengths. I could have made it funny and use humor. I could have put in all kinds of stuff about being super strong or having superpowers or I could have made it something silly. So the band concert where I stopped playing when other trombones weren't playing. The story I could have told myself was, "Hey, I was the only one that did what the band director, said they should do." Or I could have just said, "Hey, you know what? There are 3 trombone parts, and I was the 3rd trombone, and the first 2 trombones they have a different part." The audience, they didn't know what was going on, and so why did I think that there were 500 people staring at me when no one probably even noticed? And then what about that class in school when I didn't know the answer? I could have stood up for myself. I could have told the teacher, "Yes, I did read. Yes, I did do the reading. And no, I don't understand your question. It's not a cop-out," even though I didn't know what a cop-out was. And I could have asked her that too. "Hey, what is a cop-out?" But anyway, so it's all about the stories that we tell ourselves. And we need to look at what it is that we're saying. What are we interpreting when something happens? Because everything can be taken different ways. And the thing that I like to think about is, well, we all tell ourselves stories. We're telling ourselves stories after something happens. So why not make it a good one? If you're going to tell yourself a story, make it a good one. And it's not about like lying to yourself. It's about your perception, because perceptions are real. Whatever you perceive those things are real. If you tell yourself that you're not a good speaker, then you're probably not going to be a good speaker. But if you tell yourself, "Hey, I'm good. I am a good speaker. I am a good student. I am a good coach," whatever it is, it's whatever you're telling yourself is what's going to happen. The other thing too that I like to think about is a quote from Eleanor Roosevelt, and she said, "You wouldn't worry so much about what others think of you if you realized how seldom they do." So how seldom people are actually even thinking about you. In my mind, I was thinking, every time I was in front of 500 people or whatever, that they were just watching me. And I was thinking that they were thinking about me, even a day after the thing happened, because I was still thinking about it. But, no one was thinking about any of that stuff days after, like I was. All right. So yeah, I'll say it one more time. You wouldn't worry so much about what others think of you if you realize how seldom they do. And you can't change the past, but you can change the story that you are telling yourself. So if you're going to tell yourself a story, you might as well make it a good one. So those are things that I have used to change my perspective about what has happened in the past, and that way I am able to I can talk to people who I don't know, and I can give speeches in front of hundreds of people, and so this has been a great awakening for me, and it's really helping me. So real quick, I wanted to just mention a few things for the PSA. And that is anyone who is not a member of PSA and would like to, go to our website, publicspeakersassociation.com. And, there you can learn more about the association and what we have to offer. We have partnerships with different organizations. There are speaking opportunities, and there's online training. There's thousands of dollars of online training on the website. And I also wanted to mention that I am the owner of the Public Speakers Association, but I actually have two new co-owners, and they are Sam Diamond, who is now our Chief Marketing Officer and part owner, and John Kovacs Jr., who is our Chief Visionary Officer. And so with their help, we are going to take this to the next level. So thanks, and I'll turn the time back to Sam.
Thanks, Brian. Go check out our website. Just so you guys know, we have a lot of amazing things in the works, a lot of benefits and things and tools that are really going to help speakers and entrepreneurs and alike. So we got big visions and dreams, and we're pushing forward and moving forward with them. Just a quick note: next February. Next month, sorry, is what I'm trying to get. February 11th, is our next summit. So if you know anybody who would like to jump on there and speak or be a part of that, put that on your calendar. It's going to be an amazing one. We'll have a lot of new stuff to talk about. So excited for that. So yeah, that's it for today. Appreciate all the speakers, Paul, Carrie, Brian, Michael. So yeah, it was a great summit today. And if you guys want to reach out to any of the speakers, they've put out their information, and reach out to them and learn more from what they do. So I appreciate everybody, and you guys have all a good day.
Oh, Sam?
Yeah.
I just realized it looks like it's February 10th.
Oh, okay. Sorry. It's February 10th.
Oh,
not the 11th.
Second Thursday. If I looked at my calendar right this time, it's the 10th.
All right. Put the 10th on your calendar, not the 11th, because you'll be a day late. All right. Thank you, everybody. Have a great day.